Hi, it's Alison from the Law School Toolbox. Today, we're diving into essential tips for 3Ls who are gearing up for the bar exam.
Something that we have been talking about on this podcast since I think episode 2 or 3, maybe.
I think
One?
actually.
One after our introduction episode. But one of our very first episodes we did was on mindsets. And so what role does mindset play in your bar exam prep?
Well, I think this is definitely where you gotta lean into the growth mindset. And for people who kind of aren't familiar, you can go back and listen to very early Lee and Allison on the podcast, probably with really crappy audio.
About that.
But yeah, the growth mindset basically is the idea that you can learn things and that there's kind of a process and a mindset and a way to go about learning things that is more effective than other options. So what happens sometimes with the bar, I think, is people are like, I'm really smart. I don't really need to study for this test. I'll be fine. That doesn't often work out. I think this going in with the idea of like, I have strengths and weaknesses like anyone else. And if you hit a rough patch thinking, okay, well, how can I be strategic about this? That's how I kind of think about the growth mindset. What is my strategy? I've hit a rough spot. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Is the strategy that I just give up? Probably not going to work very well.
Don't pick that strategy. It's not a good strategy.
Right. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think it could be subconscious.
But people do it.
Yeah, people 100% self-sabotage here. And I don't think it's conscious necessarily, but in retrospect, it often becomes apparent. But, it's the idea that really you have to figure out what the problem is and a way to approach it and to think about it as a skill that you need to learn rather than something that is somehow inbred in you that you are going to be able to do or not do, because no one is born knowing how to pass the bar exam.
No. I really think this is also something to keep in mind when you start comparing yourself to your peers. This is such a toxic game that is played with law students and people taking the bar. How often I hear people talk about what they did in comparison to what other people did, or this person passed. And so I need to do exactly what this person did. Or even sometimes you will have significant others both studying for the exam, and then you're comparing the experience. And then if one person passes and the other person doesn't, they're comparing experiences. You really just have to play your own game. And in the end,
right? Or Reddit said, someone on Reddit said they did this and they passed. Yeah. It's like, okay, great. That worked for that person. And maybe, I'm not saying there's not good advice there. I actually consult Reddit on many things, including recently learning how to make better espresso. But, there are a lot of ideas there. Some of them are probably relevant to you. Some of them are definitely not.
Yeah, I think that after all these years of helping so many different students study for the bar, there are definitely some truisms. One of them is there's no magic outline. You have to do the heavy lifting of the practice. You have to memorize law strategically. But some of these nuances, it's really about how we all work individually. And if you start getting down, I think where mindset really plays a piece is to just say, what do you have to do to reset yourself so you can, chip away at this challenge every day, and to not get convinced you're going to fail, to not fall into imposter syndrome, which we've all had show up for us. But you have to just kind of continue to check in with yourself. And if you really find yourself spiraling, you must hit pause and go reach out to resources at your school, to a therapist, to whoever it is that kind of counsels you through those moments, because what you can't do is lose a month to kind of self-sabotaging chaos. There's just not enough time to fix it. So you want to kind of check in with yourself on a regular basis, maybe even weekly. Have a journaling session on Monday before you get started to see, how you're feeling about the week ahead.
Yeah, I read an interesting article recently by someone who coached Olympic athletes, and they had this theory that sort of at any time you're training for something that's difficult and is long-term, which I think the bar qualifies, it's just natural that 1/3 of the days you're going to feel great about everything and your progress. 1/3 of the days you're going to feel kind of okay, but not terrible. And 1/3 of the days are probably going to be pretty terrible. And that's normal. So I think when people hit that spot of oh, I had a really bad day, my MBE scores went down. This is terrible. I'm tired. I'm burned out. It's really easy to think that's kind of where you are permanently. And I just thought that was a great approach of just saying, you know what? This is one of the 1/3 bad days. Doesn't mean tomorrow is going to be terrible. So I've actually started using this in my normal life. If I'm out skiing and I have a bad day, I'm like, all right, that was my bad day. 1/3 of them will be bad. So cool, I did that. and I'm going to get up tomorrow and do whatever. But I think that might kind of depersonalize this a little bit for people and just help them put that bad day in the category of a bad day and move on. And if you have a string of them, then that's more concerning. But at that point, I think you need to evaluate what's happening. But everybody has bad days. Like, you're going to get essays you don't know. You're going to get MBE questions that you do terribly on for whatever reason. Doesn't mean you're going to fail.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I think it is interesting. In athletics, we talk about this all the time. We, not as we are athletes, but we as in people who watch Netflix documentaries about athletes.
Exactly. Like, even Simone Biles, I'm sure, has a bad day.
Well, if you watch her Netflix documentary, she talks.
Right.
So I do think that, we can learn a lot from seeing how seriously athletes take mindset. And I think athletes at the top level, many of them have performance coaches and folks to help them with their mental state, because that is how important it is. They will have a whole person on their team. I know this with tennis players too, because I'm a big tennis fan, but they will have just someone on their team whose job it is to keep them focused and in the right mindset. So it's not like a criticism. If this is something you need to work on, this is something that we all need to work on. So it's worth spending some time thinking about what you need. And I like that idea. Just accepting that sometimes things are going to be rough, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's a sign of progress. If you, tough it out for that day, and then maybe you take a break and you watch a TV show and you go to bed early and you get up the next day and you're going to have a better day. You get up and you're ready for the good day. That's all you can do.
True.
Well, thanks for watching that one, and come back and check out our next question. And check out Bar Exam Toolbox if you want to reach out or learn more.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe, like, and leave us a comment if you have any other questions you would like us to answer in future episodes.